Hello, my name is Tomek Muras and I'd like to show you a new feature in my moosh utility in version 0.5. The new feature is code generation. Moosh in general is a command line utility that helps you with Moodle development. It's aimed at Moodle developers. It can help you doing some things like, for instance, create 100 test users because you need them to test whatever feature you are working on. Most of the features are fairly well documented, there are examples for them and they are fairly straightforward. But today I'd like to focus just on code generation, which may not be that straightforward. So what I have here, it's a Moodle 2.4.1. It's a vanilla Moodle, I just downloaded and installed this. I have my moosh installed system-wide, and the first thing I would like to do is I want to create a new module. So there is a moosh command generate module. What it basically does, you run it with the module name. So that's your activity name. For instance, let's create a flashcard module. What it does, it copies into a new mod directory. It copies the files from new module, which is a GitHub repository from Moodle HQ. So the guys have created there a template for the new module. All it does really, it copies this template and it renames all the strings and files inside from new module into flashcard for you. So as you can see, the new directory has been created. If we go to notifications, we will see the notification about new module. Now the only thing in the template is that the version is being set to 0, which actually prevents the module from being installed. So that's the only thing you have to do to actually get your new module, the very basic one, to work. We will rename it into today's date. And that's it. We have the new module. We can open a course. And add our module as a new activity. Okay. Now, as you can see, it just works. It's a very basic template for the module. Now, what another code generation feature that is already implemented is adding forms. Let's say that for this page we would like to display a form. So I will go into my module directory, and now moosh kind of understands that I'm currently editing a flashcard module. So there is a command for generating a form, and as an argument you just give a form name, the short form name. So for instance, if you would like to create an edit form, we just type something like this, and now that does two things. It creates new file edit form for us in the current directory, and it also shows us the instructions on how would you actually use this form. So to actually use the form we have just generated, you just copy and paste it just like this, and that should give us working form code. Perfect. Now the form is pretty much empty. All it has are the action buttons, like here. Moosh can do a little bit more for you. It can add elements into your form. Alright, these are the elements that I'm supporting currently. These are the most popular elements that are being used in Moodle Core. So let's add to our form, let's add advanced checkbox, and we need to, the only argument we have to provide here is to give its unique ID within the form. So moosh remembers what was the last file I've edited in this directory, and it will inject the code inside your form. As you can see, it has set the ID correctly for all the methods, and it created a getString function for us. It knows we are inside flashcard, so it uses the correct second parameter, but it doesn't provide you with the first one. That's something you have to put by yourself. Put the strings for the keys for the language strings. Now, there are some things you may not need. You can simply delete them. You see there is a boilerplate code which is commented out. It's just for convenience, but we don't need it. And sure enough, if we refresh the page, here is our checkbox. Now let's add some more. Let's add date selector. We call it date one. Let's add file picker. We call it file one. And I don't know, let's add yes no button. Yes no one. So here is the new code. Again, you will have to provide correct keys for your language strings. Let's just do it like that. It's not really relevant. Now, I try to be as helpful as possible. So for instance, for the date element, probably the default value you want to use the current time. For the file picker, I list all the possible file picker options you may want to use, or basically you can use, and so on and so forth. Now, if we look at our form now, here are all the elements, and the commented out code is really just for convenience. For instance, if you would like to make the file picker required, you just unhash this one line, and it is a required one now. If, let's say, there should be a rule for being disabled for this date element, for instance, if our yes no equals to 1, the date selector should be disabled. So we just tweak a few things. It's disabled now, and it works as expected. It's basically only for convenience. Now, the last thing we would do, and the last piece of code generation that is supported at the moment, is generation of the language strings. As you can see, we've created several new language strings. They display like that. So the next thing we would need to do would be to put them into lang file, which is here. So there is a command for this that will basically you can run it without any parameters, or you can run it with some files. Basically, this command will parse the file, either the file you gave as an argument or the last file you've worked on, and will find appropriate language file for the module you are editing at the moment, and will compare all the language strings that you have in the lang file already with those that you have in the current file. And as you can see, it has found 4 new ones, and it has added them at the end of our language file. So now if we refresh the page, the lang strings are there. Obviously you need to make them proper English strings. Alright, that's it about code generation. If you have any feedback or any ideas for any new cool features for moosh, please don't hesitate and give me a shout. Bye bye.